Hello, children. Do you mind if I smoke? Oh, that's the last time I borrow a smoke machine from Alexis Flame. Whew. Get those fumes out of here. Oh, well, hey kids, it's me, Toni HomePerm, feeling her very most spookiest Halloween self today, and I thought what we would do for fun is I would show you some of my most spookiest and most Halloween-themed palettes in my collection. At least I feel they're spooky and Halloweenish, so I don't know what anyone else thinks, but that's what they are to me. Now, I'm just going to show you these palettes. They are in no particular order. Honestly, I don't know if they're all available anymore, but this is what I have in my collection, and I wanted to show it and share them with all of you. Now, of course, a spooky Halloween-themed collection would be totally incomplete without this palette, and it is the Elvira palette from Lunatic Cosmetics. And it's just such a beautifully packaged palette with Elvira there, and it's a coffin-shaped palette, and inside it has these little pop-ups. I don't want to blind you with the mirror of the candles and the webs, and a very Elvira-themed color story with this dark rusty color and a bright blue and a coral color, a red, a black, a white. It's a very Elvira-themed color story, and I love having this in my collection, especially now that we know Elvira has come out and has officially joined the LGBTQ plus community. Of course, the community always loved Elvira, and this has only just given us more reason to love her even more. So, the Elvira palette. One of the most beautifully packaged eyeshadow palettes in my collection is the Moonspell palette by Lunar Beauty. Whenever I talk about my most beautifully packaged palettes, this one is one I always go to. We have this beautiful outside sleeve, and then the palette itself comes out, and it's beautifully decorated in black and gold. It looks like a book. Gorgeous, gorgeous. And then, of course, we open it up. I don't want to blind you. And there is the beautiful color story of turquoise and purples and grungy greens and browns and shimmers. It's a beautiful palette. Unfortunately, this was limited edition. The Volume 2 is available now, so you could still get that one if you're interested in it. The Volume 1, though, this one, you can no longer get it. So if you didn't get it when it came out, unfortunately, you can't get it anymore. But she remains a part of my collection, and I love having her in it. From my good Judy Ashley Jade's company, Chaotic Cosmetics, it's the Dreadful palette. And this was part of their Halloween collection from last year. Beautifully packaged, this orange design. And when we open her up, it has a beautiful Halloween-themed color story with purples and blues and burgundies and beautiful shimmers. This is one that I'm very happy to have in my collection. I love the Dreadful palette. From BH Cosmetics, the Drop Dead Gorgeous, that could be me, Full On Crazy, also could be me, palette. And when we open this up, here we have a sort of bright, grungy color story. Of course, it's the great BH Cosmetics quality that we've all come to expect, especially this black. It's very pigmented, very smooth, very blendable. I don't believe this palette is available anymore, so if you didn't get it last year, unfortunately, you're out of luck. But I have some other BH palettes that I will be discussing later on in the video. Stay tuned. Also from Lunatic Cosmetics, the Zombie Defense Palette. Again, it's one of their coffin-shaped palettes, but this one has a Ouija board design. And when we open it up, we have this beautiful, beautiful Halloween-themed color story with that dark murky purple and the turquoise and the reddish brown, the bright blue, and the shimmery black. Beautiful, beautiful color story, beautiful packaging. I always love to look at this palette at Halloween. From Ruby May Cosmetics, the Pop Zombie palette. This is a 9-pan palette, and it's a little bit more bright and neon, but with a little bit of grunge, a little darkness with this deep blue. But it's such a beautiful color story, very fun, very Halloween. Especially this shimmer called Plague. It's a very neon green shimmer. It's just so beautiful. I think I used that for a few of my Beetlejuice looks when I wanted the green shimmer to go with purple colors. It's just such a beautiful color. And I love this little palette. From Colourpop's Hocus Pocus collection from last year, the Gather Round Sisters palette. Now, they did come out with a new Hocus Pocus themed palette this year, but honestly, I have to say that that color story, it just did not grab me. This one, however, this did grab me, and when we open her up, you can see it's got some beautiful burgundies and grungy greens and the brown tones and this sort of black with the little gold shimmers in it. It's just such a dark, grungy themed color palette. It's just, it sends me. It really does. So I love this, the first palette. And actually, I do believe that they have re-released it. So if you want to get the original Hocus Pocus palette, and I do recommend this one, you can pick it up from Colourpop. From Melt Cosmetics, the Muerte Palette. Oh, I love this palette. I love this palette so much. Everything about this palette was so thoughtfully planned. The artwork is beautiful, and it is so representative of the palette inside. And when we open it up and look at it, it's this beautiful turquoise, blue, burgundy, red color story. And I've used this palette many, many times, and I always get compliments on it every time that I use it. I love, 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 love this palette. And the Melt formula, especially in this palette, is top notch. Unfortunately, this is another one. It's no longer available. It was limited edition. Now, I have heard stories about people reselling the Muerte palette on websites like Poshmark, and they're charging like astronomical fees for it. Don't do that. Don't do that. No palette is worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I don't care what anybody says. From by Beauty Bay, the Book of Magic palette. This is another beautiful, beautifully packaged palette. It's this deep blue and the holographic design on the front. And when we open her up, we have this beautiful turquoise and green and purple and slightly neutralish color story, which I just love it. I love this color story so much. And the by Beauty Bay formula, it's a great formula. I love it. I also have their Bright Mattes palette, which is a great palette if you're looking for a relatively inexpensive rainbow palette. That's one of the best ones that you can get for the price. But this is the Book of Magic palette, and also unfortunately this one is limited edition. You can't get it currently at Beauty Bay. I don't know if they'll ever bring it back, but you might want to check out the video that I did, which compared this palette to some Wet n Wild palettes that can dupe it fairly well, and I will either leave a link to that up above or in the comments down below. From Shroud Cosmetics, in collaboration with Batty Bean, it does say Butte Bean because she has since changed her branding. Of course, I'm talking about Betty Jean, one of my favorite YouTube creators, and she changed all her social media from Butte Bean to Batty Bean, and which I guess makes sense that with Shroud they did the It's Freaking Bats palette. When I first saw this palette was coming out, I didn't want to wait. I ordered it right away, and they did have some issues just because they were overwhelmed. So many people wanted the palette. But when I open it up and I show it to you, you will see why. It is just such a beautiful, beautiful color story, whether for Halloween or any time of the year, with the mustard and this beautiful green shimmer and the deep green and this dark, almost black purple and the shimmers, and it's just a beautiful palette. And as I say, Betty Jean, now known as Batty Bean, I just love her YouTube channel. I love the look she creates, and I knew I had to have this palette, and I'm very happy to have it as part of my collection. And this one is one that I recently decided to add to my Halloween themed spooky collection. It's the Sydney Grace palette that she did in collaboration with Mel Thompson, one of the most beloved YouTube creators on the beauty platform, who we tragically lost very recently. And I just feel that the theme with the insects, it just lends itself to a Halloween theme. The color story is also one that would lend itself to some very beautiful Halloween glam looks. And of course, the Sydney Grace formula is top notch. The mattes are great, the shimmers are great, and we have all those creepy insects that Mel loved. She loved her insects, and I know insects creep a lot of people out, and I just felt I had to add this in with my Halloween spooky, creepy kind of palettes. But it's creepy in the most beautiful way possible. And also, I do believe Sydney Grace will be restocking this palette, and I highly, highly, highly recommend to all of you, when they do, please support Mel and her family and pick this palette up. Brand new to my collection from Oden's Eye, in collaboration with Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner, another one of my most favorite YouTube creators. It's the Giant Wolves palette, and of course, wolves, I always think of werewolves, although this is not really meant to be a werewolf or anything like that, but wolves tend to be very Halloween. We always think of them as the howling wolf that Dracula controlled, and werewolves and things like that. But even more so, the color story. The color story, so beautiful for Halloween. The black in this, Annihilation, one of the best blacks in my collection, and we've got all these grungy colors, these beautiful shimmers, and of course, Eternal, the multi-chrome that's in here is gorgeous. So I love this palette, and it's definitely a great one to have in your Halloween spooky collection. Also new in my collection from my good friend Ashley Jade and her company Chaotic Cosmetics, it's the Brainwashed Palette. This is the brand new collection, and what's better for Halloween than getting your brain washed? We all need to have our brain washed every now and again, along with the wig. So let me open this up and show you this beautiful, beautiful palette. It's very bright and neon, And it also has the most beautiful shimmers. And I will leave a link to the full review that I did on this palette. And I can't rave enough about this palette. I love this palette. I'm not a big shimmer person, but these shimmers are off the chart. I especially love using them on the lips if I do like a black lip and tap the shimmer on. It's blinding. It's blinding. So again, the Brainwashed Palette, one of the gems of my Halloween themed spooky collection. Also from BH Cosmetics, their Poison Shock collection. Oh, yes. Was she nuts getting all of them? Probably, but it was Halloween and I saw these palettes and I said, I need them. I need them. So let me show them to you one by one. They all have a very monochromatic color story. First is Absinthe, and there we have it. It's a beautiful, beautiful green color story. What could be better than this for Halloween? Next is Nightshade, a very purple themed color story. Beautiful, beautiful. Purple, another great color for Halloween. Ghost Pepper, a very red, pink color story. I did a complete look with this palette, and I will leave a link to that either up above or down below. Scorpion Sting, a very orange palette. A lot of people are put off by orange, and a lot of people love orange. I love orange. And I haven't used this one yet, but I will, I promise. And it's got some beautiful bright oranges and shimmers. It's beautiful, it really is. The Venom Palette, which is a very neutral, cool, gray, purple kind of a color story. And haven't had a chance to use this one yet, but I'm very excited to try it out. It's singing to me. It's singing to me. I can't wait to try this one out on the eyes, especially for Halloween. And Sub-Zero, the blue theme palette, and I also did a full look with this one, and it was beautiful, beautiful. And again, I have to say, all of these palettes in the Poison Shock collection have that great BH Cosmetics formula that we have all grown to love. It is just so pigmented, so blendable. So I love having these in my Halloween collection. I'm very excited to keep using them. Now, the next one is not really a Halloween packaged themed palette, but for me, this one is perfectly suited for Halloween, and it is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Surge palette. Currently, this is one of my most favorite palettes, and it's the favorite palette of a lot of people right now. You can see we've got this dark brick wall and this beautiful holographic text. When we open her up, we have this beautifully, beautifully, so thoughtfully created color story. We have these sort of like they're grungy pastels, and then these sort of dark brights, these grungy tones, the beautiful shimmers, and then the neons down here. And this palette is just so good. I hate when people say chef's kiss, but I will say chef's kiss for this palette. This palette is off the charts. And absolutely, you can create some fantastic Halloween looks with this palette. Really, you can create any kind of a look with this palette, and they would all be beautiful. The quality of these eyeshadows is just so good. The pigmentation, the blendability, the blindingness of the shimmers, the intensity of the neons. It's almost one of the most perfect palettes. I really do think that. And a lot of people have said it. It's not just me. So I don't know if this is still available on Blend Bunny's website or if it's out of stock, but I'm sure if it is, they will restock because it's just so good. It's just so good. I can't say enough good things about this palette, the Surge palette. So, prized collection of my Halloween themed spooky palettes, and prized amongst all my palettes, really. I just love this one so much. Now we have a brand new palette just added to my Halloween collection. It's the one that I used to create today's look. It's the Addams Family palette from HipDot. It's a cute little 8-pan palette, and we've got these beautiful grungy tones. There's a charcoal, a black with shimmer, a silver, a sort of a champagne white shimmer, this brick color, a brown, this color Beloved, which I love. It's sort of this gray purple tone, and this purplish shimmer. I love this palette. I ordered it because I love the Addams Family, and when I got it, I was looking at it and I was almost a little like, I don't know about the color story, but once I started using it, I just fell in love with it. For any kind of a smoky look, this palette is great, and really the pigmentation was great, the blendability was fantastic. I can't believe how much I love this little palette, but I love this palette. I'm so glad to have the Addams Family palette in my collection, and I feel very Morticia having used this palette. And last but certainly not least, what would one of my Halloween themed palette reviews be without talking about Wet n Wild? And I have to say, the 4 palettes that they came out with this year, the Fantasy Makers, the 10-pan palettes, and make sure it's the one with the square pans, because last year they had a different shape. They were sort of trapezoid shape. They were an odd shape, but this year is the square palettes and the square pans. And I've done a few videos about these palettes, and the quality of these palettes is amazing. For a little 10-pan, $4.99 palette, you just cannot go wrong with these. And they really are great. Especially if you're just starting out in makeup, you want to get something for Halloween and you don't want to break the bank. These are great. Now, I just want to tell you specifically, this palette, when I was looking at it, I noticed that it reminded me of the By Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette, and I actually did a video where I compared the Halloween palettes, because if you have all 4, you can sort of dupe the By Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. And I created a look. I did, on one eye, I did the Book of Magic palette, and on the other eye, I used all these little Wet n Wild palettes, and I think I did a pretty good job, and I will also leave a link to that down below. So there you have it, my Halloween themed, spooky, sort of creepy palettes from my collection. I do have one other palette that I saw that was Halloween themed, and I ordered it, and I believe that's by Pastel Roses UK. It's their Trick or Treat palette, but I only just ordered it. I don't know when I'm going to be getting it, so unfortunately I couldn't include it in this video, but I can throw a little picture of it up above just so you can see. That's what it looks like, and when I saw it, I was quite taken with the color story, and I said, let me try it. These days, I'm more interested in trying out products from the indie brands than the major name brands. So that was why when I saw the Trick or Treat palette, I said, I'm going to try that out. Oh, I actually have a guest joining me from Twilight Zone, from the episode Living Doll. It's Miss Talkie Tina herself. Perhaps we should ask Tina what she thinks about my look.
Hi, Talkie Tina, and I'm beginning to hate you.
Tina, how could you? Well, that wasn't very nice of her. Well, what can I tell you? I mean, she hasn't had a gig since, like, 1964. I mean, what can I tell you? She's probably a little annoyed. Well, there you have it. My Halloween-themed eyeshadow palettes. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at them with me. If you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. You can always catch me twice a month on Naughty or Nice with legendary drag queen Alexis Flame, the horror diva herself. And there is also my weekly podcast, God'll Get You for That, Walter, the review show that I do with Tom Cat, where we watch episodes of the 1970 sitcom Maude and discuss them. Well, that's all I have to say for today, unless there's anything you'd like to share, Talkie Tina.
My name is Talkie Tina, and I don't forgive you.
I guess that says it all. Okay, until next time, bye-bye.